Hey everyone, welcome. This is Tiffany with Boss on a Budget. I stream live every week, and of course, as soon as I go on, my light falls, but looks like you can see me okay. I go live every week just to talk about new grant opportunities for nonprofits. And so this is about my fourth week. I'm going to share three grant opportunities that I shared with my list last week. If you want to get on my list, please feel free to download my grants worksheet. I'm dropping it in the comments right now. This is a worksheet it will help you identify local opportunities in your area. It's like a questionnaire. Hey Lynn. Um, it's a questionnaire that helps you figure out who's in your community and where to find grants in your local community. So check that out. It should be a good resource to you. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started because it's 9 o'clock here and we just need to knock this baby out. So I want to share some of the grant opportunities that I found last week. The first one is with Ameriprise. And if you don't know who Ameriprise is, they do, from what I know, they do like financial planning. So way back in the day, I had a financial planner and he worked for Ameriprise. So they do a lot in kind of the finance space. And I always tell people, check out your banks, check out your finance sectors because they have money and they have a lot of money to burn. So they probably have like grant funding and stuff available. So I always recommend that people check out those kinds of organizations. So Ameriprise has a grant opportunity. It is actually due January 15th of next year. So you have a lot of time to go through this and kind of dissect it and figure it out for yourself. One thing I will say, they do have some information on their website that says for 2020, they stopped giving out new grants. They only gave grants to organizations they had previously funded. So if you weren't, didn't get a grant from them before, you were out of luck, but they're going to open it up for next year. And that grant um, application is due January 15th. So if I were you, I would pay attention to this because they're opening back up their opportunities. I'm just going to go through some of their focus areas because it's so broad that I think a lot of people should pay attention to this one and see if it fits. So they have one big category, which is called meeting basic needs. And then under that is hunger, shelter, and adult self-sufficiency. So I'm going to kind of go through each one just to give you a summary of what they have in their guidelines to see if this works for you. If you have questions, let's work it out. Let's figure out if it works. So the first one is hunger under that big category of meeting basic needs. And here they give money to food banks, food pantries, daily meal programs, or meal services for the homebound. Then they also have hunger relief programs to meet the special needs of children, ethnic populations, or veterans. And then also food programs run by nonprofits where hunger is not their only focus. So if you're a YMCA or you run a boy and girls club, they also provide food for that, which is good. And then it does not include nutrition education, cooking instruction, or gardening programs. Now, for like Lynn, for you, it doesn't say that they don't serve older people. So I would check that out and reach out to them and see if that would apply. If they have like food programming for your daycare center, that might be an option. And I would first check and see if you have like an Ameriprise chapter or something like that in your local area because they're more likely to give if they have like a presence or they have offices in your area. The other category under meeting basic needs is shelter. So they have programs that they'll fund are emergency shelters, including for youth homelessness. They have transitional housing. I hear a lot of people ask me about that. A lot of people want to set up transitional housing for people and they want to address homelessness. So they provide funding for that. Housing first models. And I think those models are more like doing housing and wraparound services for people. So people also may need help with like getting a job or managing their money and stuff like that. So housing first models they'll pay for, and then achieving home ownership. But get this, they'll also do repair and maintenance efforts for seniors, veterans, and other populations in their homes. So that's why it's important to pay attention to all the details, because on first glance, it may look like a grant does not work for you, but it absolutely might. So check them out, because they also deal with shelter and keeping people in their homes and repairing their homes. And then finally, adult self-sufficiency. So programs serving adults age 21 and older that help address basic hard and soft skills for economic and family stability, financial and budgeting skills, and increasing employability and wages. So it could include readiness programs and then also employment of disabled adults. So if you're just checking me out today, I am going through some grant opportunities that I sent to my list last week. You can get on that list by downloading my grants worksheet. I dropped the links in the comments, and it's also in the description of this video. And I am walking through the Ameriprise grant, which is so broad and so far reaching that I think anyone should pay attention to this and see if they fit within it. So the first category that I'm going through is meeting basic needs, and they cover programs around hunger, shelter, and adult self-sufficiency. The reason why I chose this one grant for my list is because I was getting a lot of emails back. So what I do is I ask, are you not seeing the grants that you're looking for? What kind of grants are you looking for? I'll be on the lookout. So a lot of people were asking me about like grants around economic stability and community development. So that's why I chose these three I'm going through today in particular, because they all touch on that and they all have that focus. So that's why I chose them. And I also like those kinds of grants because they tend to be really, really broad. They tend to like welcome a lot of different programming. So that's why I chose these three that I'm going through. So the first one is I'm still on Ameriprise. They have another big category that they focus on. This big category is called supporting community vitality. And this is their words. We believe communities should be strong, healthy, and resilient. They want livable places for all, where neighbors look out for one another, cultural events are well attended, and people pull together in times of crisis and joy. Okay, so that seems pretty broad to me. So they're focused on, in this category, community development. So anything around neighborhood revitalization. So that sounds like maybe parks, maybe dealing with like neighborhoods of blight, those who have a lot of abandoned housing and stuff like that. I'm looking at you, Baltimore. I know a couple people in Baltimore. Economic development, so probably contributing to like the local economy somehow, and then strengthening and supporting small businesses and nonprofits through technical expertise. So if you support small businesses as a nonprofit, then that's one for you as well that you might want to look into. And their other subcategory in this big category is cultural enrichment. So arts education, and you don't see a lot of grants for arts education. So if you know anyone, share this with them. Access for underserved populations, that's all around like culture and art stuff. And then diverse artists and performances that spark topical community conversations. And I will say it is interesting that Ameriprise focuses on this, because not a lot of funders focus on the arts, or if they do, they only focus on the arts. So the fact that they added this in here is interesting. So if you know anyone who does art programming, please forward this to them, because this would be helpful for them. Their other category under supporting community vitality is disaster relief and recovery. So it's interesting what they consider disaster relief. I'm wondering if they're going to kind of couple in COVID-19, because COVID-19 is definitely a disaster. And it's definitely something we got to recover from, but that's the whole country. So right now, it seems like the way they describe it is more so for like hurricanes and earthquakes and fires and all of that. So it doesn't seem like they handle COVID-19 in that. I think they do that separately. So just as an FYI. And then their third and last biggest category is around volunteer-driven causes. So if any of their employees or their financial advisors that work for them volunteer for your organization, they will pay a lot of attention to you. And this is just a note, just in general, if you're looking to get money and grant funding from corporate foundations or just corporations in general, a good way to get in and to get noticed is through their employees. So if you know anybody who is employed by the company Or if you have a way to work with them, like doing presentations with them, helping them with any kind of efforts that they're putting on. So like talking to their human resources, because their human resources probably has like programming that they do with their staff. Example, like Black History Month or something like that. You want to come in and do a presentation. Or maybe they want to do something on self-care and you have expertise in that. You can come in and do a presentation. And when you go in and do your presentation, you can do a pitch and say, hey, we need volunteers. Because anywhere you go as a nonprofit, you should have a call to action. You should be walking away with some names and some emails and some contact information, and then somebody signing up for something. So that's one way you can get in, and you can get access to their employees by doing something for them. And this is what we call cultivation, cultivating relationships with people so that you can get in with them. And that's just a tip there that you should think about. And this isn't just for Ameriprise. This is for any, honestly, any kind of organization that you're trying to work with. Corporations, it will be more so focused on getting their employees engaged and getting them to volunteer. But you should be trying to get relationships like this with a foundation, if you can, with your government partners, if you can. And it looks different depending on who the funder is. But that is how you want to approach it. You want to develop real relationships. So that is Ameriprise. And again, their deadline is January 15th. So you have a lot of time to get yourself together to figure out what you want to do and how you want to apply for that one. If you have any questions about that, you want me to go over anything, let me know. I dropped the link for you guys so you can look at it yourself. This next one is from the Georgia Pacific Foundation. I'm gonna put it on the screen. So if you guys know Georgia Pacific, like drop a comment if you know what they do. I know them for one thing. I don't know them for anything else, but I definitely know them for one thing. And I want to see if you guys can know them for anything. Georgia Pacific. And they have like a little triangle as their logo with GP in it. I know them for paper. So Georgia Pacific, and I, for some reason, have seen paper from them. I just remember seeing their logo on paper. Well, they have a foundation. So that, again, if you use any products, if you go to any stores, you should pay attention to all the brand names because they probably, if they're a big enough brand, they probably have a foundation. Lynn said trains. I didn't know that. That probably makes sense. How, that sounds like a Monopoly card, Georgia Pacific, the Georgia Pacific Railroad. You're probably right. Yeah, the trains. Okay. So Georgia Pacific has their own grant. And the interesting thing about this, they don't have a whole lot of information on their website, which is likely the fact that they don't have like a really stringent application. So if a lot of their stuff is kind of behind a wall or behind like a login process, usually the application tends to be a little like more streamlined. But I could be lying. You could be getting on here and it'd be like, Tiffany said it was going to be 3 questions and it's 23. So you gotta check it out for yourself. But I just want to go through a little bit about this one in particular. And this grant is due at the end of the year, but they have a note on their website that says, try to get your applications in by October 31st, which I'm sorry is Saturday. But if you're on my list, you saw this last week, so you had a little more time. The deadline isn't the 31st. They're saying try to get your applications in before then because their money may run out. So they focus on what they call the 4 E's: education, environment, enrichment of community, and entrepreneurship. So those are the 4 areas that they focus on. They do not go into a whole lot of detail on their FAQ page on their website, but they do have like little descriptions here and there, just like little blurbs. It's not a whole lot on their website. So you just got to use your judgment on what to apply for. They do have an FAQ page. They do say what they will fund. And they give a little bit of information about like how much is a typical grant and all of that. So I'm gonna go through that really quickly. They have an eligibility quiz that you have to go through and apply for. Usually when they have eligibility quizzes, they have like their form linked to the IRS where they can check your number real quick. So if you're not showing up in the IRS database, you may not be able to apply for this grant. So just be mindful of that. That has tripped some nonprofits up because the IRS is slow with updating their information. So you have to be a 501c3 nonprofit, or you could be a public school or a state and local government. You must support a community that is served by GP, or your organization must be located within 30 miles of a GP manufacturing community. So what you're going to have to do is look on their website and see where their locations are to see if you apply, because this may vary. Okay. And all of this is an electronic application process. So you got to do everything online. You got to sign up for an account. They do not show you what the application looks like. You just got to log in and do it for yourself. There is a question here about award amounts for specific grants or in-kind donations. They do not give a specific award amount. So it looks like they make that decision based on what you need and what you're asking for. So there's a question around how long does it take to get a formal response? And they said 45 days. So this one seems to be rather simple. Again, they are focused on the 4 E's. I'm going to go back to the 4 E's. They are education, environment, enrichment of community, and entrepreneurship. So it doesn't specify like whether this is children, whether this is adults. It's very, very broad. So if I were you, I would just log in, check it out, take their quiz, see if you apply, if you're eligible, and then go from there. And again, they are asking for applications by Saturday. And then the last grant that we're going to go through is from the Cisco Foundation. Now, Cisco, I used to get Cisco mixed up with the people who I think they make like plates and they serve people who like they serve like cafeterias. I could be jacking that up, but Cisco is like a technology company. And from what I can see, they're in the Bay Area. And the reason why I know that is because they have a grant specific for Bay Area nonprofits. So I think they are a tech company. Cisco is interesting. They have 3 different types of grants that you can go for. And I'm going to go through each one of those in a little bit. They have first the product grant program. So I'm not as familiar with Cisco, so I would just advise you go and look around in their website and see what kind of products they have, because it seems like they would donate some of their technology to your organization. So they have a product grant program, and they give it to their community partners around the world. Those are their words, and they are their partners that share your vision and offer an innovative approach to a critical social challenge. So it seems like they're big on innovation and big on technology. So if you are leveraging technology somehow in your programming, they probably will pay a lot of attention to you. Their second kind of grant is actually called a Global Impact Cash Grant. So again, they focus on community partners around the world who share our vision and offer an innovative approach to a critical social challenge. So the areas that they're focused on is critical human needs, access to education, and economic empowerment. Okay, so those are their social investment areas. And it seems like they have an international focus, and they are interested in organizations that serve organizations kind of on a global scale and perhaps a national scale. So if you're working at that level, I would pay attention to Cisco, but still check them out, because if they give product grant donations, then you might be able to use some of the services and the resources they have. The last grant through them that I want to talk about is their San Francisco Bay Area Community Impact Grants. So these are grants for nonprofits that serve communities that are within a 50-mile radius of San Jose, California. So that's where they're headquartered. Okay. So their focus is on closing the achievement gap for low-income kindergarten through fifth grade students who are in the Bay Area. So they have a very specific focus, and it's for underserved communities, and it looks like they're focusing on Black children, Latino children, and Pacific Islander children because they seem to be behind in scores and in the data from what they put on their website. So again, this is what you'll see from a lot of company grants. If you're going to go for corporate grants, you need to go for the corporations that are in your area because more than likely they're invested in their community geographically, or they have like a topic or subject they're really passionate about for whatever reason. It could be their founders passionate about it. It could be that their organization was somehow impacted by it. And it could be just in response to a movement. So 2020 is a perfect example. Technology and innovation is a movement because of our move to a virtual world and all of the racial unrest and the information about diversity and race equity. That's a movement as well. So a lot of organizations will get behind what's trending, but also what's in their geographic area and what's important to them. So that's why I always say start local. Don't start from the top where you're like trying to find big organizations that fund nationally. Start where you are because there's a lot of money where you are that's in your backyard that you may not even know about and you may be missing. So one thing I love to tell people to do is like literally drive down the street or walk down an aisle in Walmart and write down all the brands that you see. So a lot of the brands are under like conglomerates. They may be owned by one company or whatever. So maybe kind of redundant. But if you do that, you're going to come up with a list of brand names and they likely have funding for almost anything. I mean, literally even in the food section. Okay. It's like Newman's Own. So Paul Newman has like his Newman's Own salad dressings. If you've seen him, he has a foundation. Ben and Jerry's has a foundation. Organic Valley has a foundation. I mean, come on, I could go down the list. So I really recommend that you do that because you'll find a lot of good stuff if you start that way. And guess what? My grants worksheet tells you how to do it. So don't forget to download that, check that out, and you'll also be added to my list to receive grant opportunities every Friday afternoon. I just want to say thank you for watching me. Sorry for the shadows in the back. I'm working on my lighting and it is dark here in the DC area. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Once you get on my grants list, you'll get emails from me and you can just reply with any questions or you can set up a time to talk to me. Thank y'all for watching me. Please share this video if you know someone who could use this information. And guess what? I will be back here next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to share more opportunities. See y'all next time.